So right off the bat, I have to admit, I went in with pretty low expectations for Godzilla 2014, but I was pleasantly surprised. I promise this will not become a consistent part of the review part of my channel where I just say, actually, this movie's really good, you should listen to the script, as a self-serving kind of thing. But this one is actually true. From the first written scene of this script, I was captivated, and I'll tell you why. Because with any underwater monster movie, the first thing you're going to think of is Jaws, and there are a lot of parallels with Jaws in this script. Now, I don't necessarily think Godzilla is as good as Jaws, but I think the references were in good taste, and I'm going to break down a couple of them, as well as some other insights you might have missed while just watching the movie. If you just want to listen to the whole script and stop listening to this review, go to the description of this video, and the full movie script reading is there. So the first shot of the movie is a submarine underwater, and that to me said, the true monster of this movie will not be Godzilla, it's going to be the tyrannical organism that rules the Earth and dominates Mother Nature, that is, human beings. Nature just wants to be left alone. Godzilla never asked to be created. Godzilla in this movie represents nature. Now, this theme comes up multiple times in the film, especially at the end. The writer of the script definitely wanted you to feel like Godzilla represented nature, and the Hakumuto and the Femmuto represented an abomination created by man. They never would have come to be without the nuclear, artificial, and extremely unnatural ambition of man for more and more power especially over Mother Nature. So when they discover the fossil of the mother dinosaur underground in Siberia, the scientist steps on something fragile which crumples into dust. I think this is the perfect way to kick off this theme of how fragile the earth and nature really is. Now, you might be already saying, okay, that's pretty strenuous, but no, I'm 100% certain the writer meant for you to think nature is extremely fragile. If you mess with it, there will be consequences. And that's exactly what happens after this scene. Nathan Brody is a callback to the main character of Jaws, Martin Brody. I don't know if you guys caught this one, but I definitely did. So Martin Brody is the police chief with the glasses. You might remember that really famous scene from Jaws where the camera zooms up. That's Martin Brody. So when Nathan Brody is the, overly cautious scientist trying to warn everyone, that is, in my opinion, a parallel to Martin Brody, who is the father figure and the police chief from Jaws. So that's just, to me, that's a very good and clear reference to Jaws. He too is overseeing a disaster that was just waiting to happen. And truth be told, the issues went way over his head. He was constantly, I'm talking about Martin Brody from Jaws, he was constantly being told he didn't have authority and other people were in charge, like the mayor and the real estate agents and all these people. They decided, no, we're going to keep the unnatural beach open against nature's will. Well, it's very similar in Godzilla. So Nathan Brody tries to warn them that nuclear power is going to have all these consequences, and sure enough, later he's replaced by this scientist Honda, but they consistently play the part of the skeptical, wise overseer, and the government, who in Jaws it was the mayor of the town, but the government in this case, the USS admirals and generals, they represent authority and the overambition of man. So Jaws is a monster movie. It's the one that kind of kicked off good monster movies with dramatic weight and allowed films like this one to even exist. It's even possible that Ford driving a Chevy Camaro out of choice, he wanted to drive an old muscle car. It's possible that this too is a reference to Jaws. The other thing I thought of while looking at Ford and his 1975 Camaro is that it represents him choosing to have a bad car to pay homage to his lost childhood and teenage innocence. So the beginning of the movie, if you haven't seen it or listened to the script, go do that first because I'm going to spoil this. But at the beginning of the movie, basically Ford loses his mother, and that was, the last of his parents. His father had previously passed away, and he essentially had his teenage years taken away because he had to take responsibility for his sister and, pay the bills His stepfather was out of the picture, which is Nathan Brody. And this is another theme of the movie, is really, taking responsibility and doing the thing that's not necessarily comfortable, but you should do. And I think this, at the very end of the film, it comes full circle with Ford. He does what he has to do. He saves the world. He saves the city, San Francisco, by defusing the nuke, or getting the nuke to explode, in the bay. And this represents his whole character arc of, from the very beginning, he has to step up and be the adult when no one else wants to. And the government, represents that childish kind of teenager that says, no, I want what I want, and I don't want to do any sacrifices. I don't want to give up what I want. So Ford never got to enjoy his college years. He was accepted at Berkeley, this prestigious American university, but he never got to go. And thus, his teenage years lived through him in his choice of car. Now, obviously, Ford becomes a Marine, which Marines are the pinnacle of, take responsibility, be that individual that does what needs to be done. And of course, it's a muscle car, so it's just cool. So it's possible that it was just because it was cool, but I think that there was, something more there. Page 26 of the script, the world that was destroyed by this original nuclear bomb is actually reclaimed by nature. And I think the theme is established here, or the message is established here, that if we just leave nature alone, it will right itself and it will heal itself. So stop trying to fix everything. Stop trying to overcompensate humanity and just let nature fix itself. And this actually is reinforced through Godzilla defeating the monsters at the end. So if they just had let Godzilla do what he was meant to do, Godzilla represents nature, he would fix all of the problems with the nuclear fallout, the nuclear monsters, on his own. And whatever humanity does seemed to make it worse. Page 74, I thought there was a pretty cool little tidbit where the soldiers are kind of looking for this ICBM missile warhead, and they don't see, that's the whole point, they don't see their fellow soldier, Ford, who's, mired in the mud. They totally ignore him. And it even says in the script, this is what they were there for. They're there for the missile. They don't care about humanity. They don't care about their fellow human who almost died. They care about their mission. And that kind of plays into the theme as a whole, which is humanity just cares about energy, just wants to get the next thing. They don't really care about humanity itself and saving human lives. Because, in a nuclear reactor, or actually more specifically, nuclear bombs, it's established near the end of the movie that this whole nuclear kind of theme has been referencing to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, not actually nuclear power plants, but nuclear bombs. But I want to shift before the end of this video to this really cool scene I thought was kind of short-lived, but was really, really effective. And that's where Elle gets home from work, and the monster part of the movie hasn't really started yet. It's still kind of in limbo, and it kind of works for comic relief, where she turns on the TV to watch like a monster movie, and it's actually the news, and there's a giant monster battle on the news station, and instead she just says, this is a dumb movie, and she switches to, some generic monster movie, and she falls asleep. This obviously gets a laugh. It was meant to be comedic, but I think it illustrates just how desensitized we've become to monster movies and all the CGI and all the over-the-top stuff. I remember as a teenager watching Pacific Rim, I could not believe that this existed. The effects, everything, I was in awe. My breath was taken away in the theater, and my imagination just started going crazy. I think this is when I really got interested in films, because I realized it's not just cartoons. Like The Iron Giant was a great movie, but it's a cartoon. It never had that physical feeling of reality like this movie. So I really related to Pacific Rim. In a lot of ways, I think Godzilla 2014 is the natural posterity of that movie, of Pacific Rim. Even the kaiju, it's a very similar idea, the monsterverse in general. I think this movie was trying to say, don't lose that sense of awe and wonder at the incredible visual effects and stories. Keep the feelings, because feelings are the part that movies really matter. The themes and what's going on underneath the surface, like what I'm trying to explain to you guys in these reviews, that's really what's important. Page 27 of the script, Brody goes back to their house that's been all destroyed and exploded by the bomb. And, it's symbolic of this life that they were forced to leave behind. There's this nostalgia. And he takes a picture from that house. The car, is still there. The University of Berkeley poster is still there, but it's all decrepit. And that's Ford's dream that's been shriveled and taken away. But the memories, like the picture, the memories are preserved. And I think that's what you should take away, is that, if you want to take away the family message of this movie, it's that the memories are what matter. It's not what you physically keep. It's not the physical stuff, the possessions, the vacations. It's the memories that those things create. And if you want to take away the nature message, I think it's simply stated in just let nature alone. Let it fix itself. If you happen to mess up something terribly, like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or like a nuclear meltdown, like we've had several times in history, just let nature reclaim it, because it says in the script, Honda near the end kind of explains, nature will reclaim the earth very quickly. Lastly, there was this really quick and not really fleshed out idea of the hubris of humanity being knocked down. I think the Golden Gate Bridge and a couple other landmarks were kind of destroyed, kind of symbolically to say, nothing will escape the wrath of nature. I didn't really connect that much with that theme. I think it's a little bit overdone to kind of tear down everyone at the expense of your theme. I think positive themes, just like Chris Nolan says in Inception, I think positive themes are much more powerful. So maybe, it's time for a revival of this kind of film that can be really entertaining, but they're actually pretty well thought out and have cool themes. If you like this movie review, leave a like. If you want me to make more movie reviews like this, put a comment below and say that you enjoyed this one. My last movie review got quite a bit of attention and people seem to like it for Tenet, so you can go check that one out as well. I'll put the link in the description. If you want to see more movie readings, then go to the rest of the channel. I have a few dozen of them. I'll see you guys in the next movie reading.